Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is.
And they call it the MAGA revolution. It's not a revolution. It is a counter-revolution. There's a big difference. This is a restoration. Let's use the word Trump restoration. We don't really appreciate what we've been through with 8 years of the Obama revolution and the 4-year more radical third term of Obama using or employing the waxen effigy of Joe Biden. A revolution that we've experienced was a cultural, economic, political, social revolution. It was very similar to the French Revolution under the Robespierre brothers. We should remember what they tried to do. They changed the days of the week. They renamed things. They tore down statues. They went after the church. Does this sound familiar? This revolution that we've experienced, everything was up for sale. Everything was negotiable. We invented a third gender and rammed it down people's throats. We tore down statues. We said 1776 was no longer the foundational date. It was 1619. We changed the very mechanism that we vote. We went from 70% of the electorate voting on election day to 70% of the electorate not doing that, either through mail-in or early voting. That was a radical change that had no discussion. It was done by fiat. It was incredible. We looked at girls' sports and we destroyed it. We said that transgendered biological males that were now transgendered females could compete. They won over 600 medals they took away from hardworking female athletes. We had drag shows among young children. It was an effort to change the entire Constitution. We forget that. They were trying to bring in Puerto Rico as a state and Washington, D.C. to get 4 instant senators. They were proud. They said that they were going to pack the Supreme Court. It hadn't been tried since 1937. And it was a object of disgrace ever since, but they were proud to try it again. They talked about making states, the Senate look like the House. They wanted, and a lot of them were advocating it was not fair that one senator in Wyoming, to take one example, is worth 250,000 votes, but a senator in California represented 20 million. They wanted to change the makeup of the Senate. They wanted to get rid of the Senate filibuster. Remember that. They wanted to bring back neo-Confederate nullification. 600 jurisdictions in the manner of South Carolina in 1832 or on the edge of the Civil War in 1860 when neo-Confederate southern states said the federal government's law does not apply to us. Tariffs, Yankee tariffs, no, we were going to override them. Andrew Jackson almost invaded the Carolinas over that, South Carolina. And so these jurisdictions said, federal law doesn't apply here. We're exempt. We have our own laws. You cannot, federal immigration law does not apply here. It applies everywhere else, to you, but not to us. So this was a revolutionary movement. Movies were different. Sports were different. Take a knee. And Donald Trump came in, and it was not sufficient to say we're going to stop the madness of $37 billion. We're going to stop the madness of being short 40 or 50,000 military recruits because of this DI, coupled with the humiliation in Kabul. We're going to stop the appeasement of China. But that wasn't all. He said, the government is broke. We're going to go through all of these agencies. And finally, for the first time in the history of this country, when somebody says they're going to cut federal spending and drain the swamp or cut the administration, we're going to do it. And there's going to be no changing names except to go back to traditional names. And we're not going to topple statues. And if you break the law and you're on campus and you're on a student visa, you're going to go back home. So we're in the midst of a counter-revolution. It's not revolutionary. You know what it is? It's a return to normalcy. It's a return to common sense. It only looks revolutionary to revolutionaries. But to the rest of the people, it is a counter-revolution to restore normalcy and bring the country from the far left fringes back home again.
That was Victor Davis Hanson, and that video was posted on Trump's Truth Social today. Hi everyone, it's Patrick. I'm back in chair today. Joe is not feeling well, so I am taking the reins once again. So yeah, sorry to disappoint. I know we're all big Joe fans. I'm a big Joe fan too. I like when he's on, don't get me wrong. But thank you for tuning in. And yeah, you see what we're going to be talking about today, right? That video was pretty much on the money. It's Trump's counter-revolution, right? It's hitting. And it is a return to normalcy, or at least an attempt to return to normalcy after the previous administration and then the 8 years under Obama, right? It was a complete disaster for us. And Victor pointed that out. And I felt like he articulated that so well. That video, I believe, came out in October 25. And Trump just retruthed it today. And it's very true. Just think about what we have been through 12 out of the past 16 years. The radical changes that took place seemingly overnight that automatically became normal. Drop of a hat. Right? DEI off the bat. Let's talk about boys and girls. That too, right? It was an attack all across. It was an attack socially. It was an attack politically. It was an attack culturally. It was an attack economically, right? Look what happened with the media. Look what happened with the movies. Look what they started to produce, right? It was a total brainwashing and revolution against the American way of life. And when they had the spigots of power, they used them. They turned them on full force. Where we had to accept living in an upside-down parallel universe because they were in charge. It emboldened the mentally ill to believe this is the way the world should work. Just take a look at it now. Look how they're reacting when people are starting to be held accountable. Look how they're reacting when illegal criminal aliens are starting to be deported. Look how they're acting when Trump is trying to restore some semblance of what America was pre-Obama, right? And Victor drew the parallel really well with the French Reign of Terror. If you guys are familiar with that time period, it was a short time period. It was about a year with Robespierre in charge. Okay, he had the Committee of Public Safety. That name kind of sounds, a Committee of Public Safety, right? They would walk around executing people that dared question what he was doing. The guillotine was used like you're just spreading butter on bread. Drop of hats, heads just rolling in the streets of Paris. That was the French Revolution. Now, there were some good things that happened during it too, but it unleashed the radical left. And then that mantra has still carried over till 2026. Right? He's right. They changed everything in France. They changed the dates. They destroyed the museums. They destroyed the culture. They wanted to upend everything because that was the old way. We can't live this way. This is the Enlightenment time period. We're throwing everything out the window. They did that in France, but I don't know, I think 8-10 years prior in America, we did it too, but we did it a little bit differently. And yeah, that parallel struck me when I heard that. Like, yeah, because France was in complete chaos. People didn't know what was going on. You had this crazy guy in charge with his henchmen just enforcing his will across France. And that's very much like the commies today. They look to enforce their will wherever they are. And if you don't like it, you're going to get hit in the face with it. Right? That's what they do. And think about under Obama, right? 1776 was no longer the founding year of our nation. right? It went back to what, 1619, introduction of slaves, and then the whole you're on stolen land and no person is illegal, right? All that type of language took place then. And those seeds were planted and they started to get water and they started to sprout. Trump came along, there was some resistance to it. Some of those that broke the surface were torn out, but then Biden came in and they flourished, right? And the normalcy of what we thought America was completely flipped upside down on its head. Where America is no longer the greatest country ever created, America is the most oppressive nation of all time. And it's our duty as Americans to make sure we accept the responsibility that everyone else has had a shitty life and that people that come here will continuously have a bad life unless we give them everything. And then acknowledge that we have caused their heartache and pain, right? It is all that. It is all that has been built in throughout the school systems, into society, that is boiled over into what we have today, which is you have a portion of this country that really believes all that nonsense. And then I truly believe you got the majority of Americans that know what America stands for and is watching this and is like, whoa. And now what you have is Trump coming in and trying to restore order, it looks like. You know, I have been saying not enough, not fast enough, not hard enough. We need people in cuffs. Yeah, and we still don't have people in cuffs, but the needle is moving. Things are happening. And you see what the commies react to it. You see how the commies react to it. They're screaming. They're alleging that he is going to commit more crimes. They're saying there's going to be blood on the streets. No one's doing that. Okay, the right outside, we're not the violent ones in the streets. We're not the ones that are assaulting people. Like, outside doesn't do any of this. All we want is honesty, transparency, and justice. Like, that's all we want. And yet somehow when we want that, we're told no. Accept what we told you. Go sit down, shut up, take this, and go about your day. Because the commies had the power. They never wanted to open up the books. They never wanted to show behind the curtain because they know once their hand is shown, it's game over for them. Everything that they've told the American people will come crumbling down. Their power will be coming crumbling down. And then eventually they'll be getting perp to walk. Because the American people, this country, has been hijacked. It's been hijacked. Our voices have been silenced by those above us. And it's all because of the disdain they have for the American people. And here we are. Here we are. We talked about it a little bit yesterday with Joe. Joe talked about it. You know, he was in the Coomer deposition. And then while we're on the show, we're talking about how they hit Fulton County, Georgia yesterday. And that sent some flags up. That really sent some flags up. People are really talking about it. Patrick Byrne is talking about it. I know it was his deposition. He's not talking about the deposition, though, but he's talking about what all this means. Benny Johnson had Senator Tubberville on. We're going to play that clip a little later today. Senator Tubberville is acknowledging, you know, voting fraud is tied to Maduro. So is this the catch-all? Could be. The groundwork is being laid. And if you look at it from a 30,000-foot view and see how all these things are lining up, right, the hopium starts coming into play again. And I don't like to get on the hopium bandwagon, but if you're thinking logically, it seems like things are going to start happening. And if they really want things to happen to make sure the November elections are going to be correct and held accordingly and properly and making sure there's no fraud in it, some serious action is going to have to start picking up by spring. Like some serious arrests are going to have to happen. But the fact that they went into Fulton County and bagged up, I think it was 700 boxes, and then the immediate response by the commies on the ground down there tells you all you need to know. It tells you all you need to know. Right? So there is some momentum building here. There is some momentum building. And it's fascinating to watch. It's interesting to watch. And for people like Joe, I don't want to speak for the man. I don't. But for him, he's got to be feeling pretty good today. He should be feeling pretty good. I personally have known Joe about 6 months now. That's it. A lot of people have known Joe a lot longer. You guys watching have listened to Joe a lot longer than I have. Some of you have spoken to Joe a lot longer than I have. The dude's never wavered since I've met him about about the election integrity in this country. And if you go back clip, the dude has never wavered on it whatsoever. And for 5-6 years, him and his family have been under constant attack. Verbally, threats of physical harm, even being physically harmed. He's been through a lot, all for just telling the truth. And that's what the commies do. They look to destroy the lives of truth tellers. Because the truth is what they hate the most, because it exposes who they are to everyone, even to themselves. So after going through stuff like Joe has for 5-6 years, I can imagine he's feeling pretty good today. A sense of vindication. You wait a long time, and he doesn't have all vindication yet. The page has just been turned for him. But it's a new page, a fresh page, where the momentum is picking up for him. I'm happy for the guy. He has fought this for a long time. And he stayed true to it. He didn't back down. He didn't settle. He didn't run away. He said, bring it on. That has to be admired. It has to be admired by anyone that's watched it and seen it and know what it feels like when the commies do come for you. Right? Because they play to end lives. They play to end livelihoods. They play to destroy families. They don't care. So it takes a special somebody to stand up to that, eat it, and I'm sure feel the pressure from those close to him to like, hey, let's not do this anymore. I'm not saying that happened. I'm not saying that whatsoever, that Joe got that from anybody close to him. But I could see that happening because not everyone's built for this. Not everyone's built to take on the machine. But Joe has. And he still is. And that's impressive. So if he's listening, Joe, I'm proud of you, dude. I hope you know there's a lot of people that are proud of you and support you. And we're happy that there's some vindication that has occurred and hopefully a hell of a lot more coming your way. It's time to hit the other side now and make them feel what you have felt for so long. Because that's the only way we square the game. That's the only way we square the game. So just wanted to take that a little bit of time just to put that out there to Joe and just say thank you. Because there are a lot of other people that were in very similar spots where you were and they decided to fold. They decided to settle. They decided to go away. You didn't. That takes a lot, man. Appreciate that. Definitely appreciate that. So Eric Coomer Tuesday, Fulton County yesterday, fallout today. And I'm not gonna lie, it feels pretty good. I like seeing what I'm seeing. Like I'll be happy when we really, really start getting some of these guys, locking them up. You know, getting some Secretary of States, getting some governors. I'll be really happy then, but it's off to a decent start for me. And Trump, he went on Truth last night as well, and he put this social post up on the ground reporting of what occurred down in Fulton County, Georgia last night. Let's play cut 2.
Random truck boxes, but Jason, explain to us what is currently happening 10 feet away from us.
Yeah, David, this is a beautiful day. We've been trying to get these ballots, everything from 2020, pretty much since 2020. We've been told time and again, everything was fine, don't worry about it, why are you investigating 2020? This happened so many years ago. You know what, if there was nothing to hide, they would have showed us years ago. Now we're gonna find out. These trucks are on their way to Virginia. They're going to be out of state very soon, and it is time to get to the bottom of 2020.
So basically, it's about 700 ballot boxes from the 2020 election because,
Yes.
again, this is the Fulton County election office. Today, FBI executed a search warrant where they seized essentially those 700 boxes.
Everything.
And now they've officially left. This is the train, as we'll say, that's
train.
on the way, hopefully, out of Georgia.
In safe keepings.
Exactly. We don't want a judge to suddenly, and real quickly, we'll get to the judge in a second. These are actual people that you know that you've been fighting together with since 2020.
Yes.
Trying to make this a possibility. You've been here till the minute that they left, and it seems like they're probably going to follow them to make sure that everything will be fine and secure.
We've got to make sure the ballots get there and there are no hiccups.
Yeah.
But this is a beautiful day. I mean,
Absolutely.
we need to get to the bottom of this. Whoever won, we just want the answers.
And President Trump had that posted last night. And apparently those trucks are on their way to Quantico. And work is going to be done. Now, depending who you listen to on social media, see what's being said, some are already reporting that they've found some evidence of fraud. I'm waiting to see all that still, but I don't know how they get those connections when this turnaround's been that quick. But we shall see. We shall see. And the FBI went in there because they had a warrant. These ballots were asked to be turned over to the Georgia State Election Board before October 6th of 2025. What was that, 3 months ago? And Fulton County refused. Fulton County has not given those ballots over. They say they are sealed, they're locked up, they're good, nothing to see here. Why is it there continuously an effort to just keep the public from seeing these ballots? If everything is on the up and up, just to squash the conspiracy theorists out there, just open the books. But they never have. The DOJ asked for them in December. Fulton County said, no, you need a court order to get these. They're under lock and key. We're not going to give them to you. We need a court to do this. And then, of course, the judges get involved, and you know how it works. So now, FBI had a search warrant. Boom, they hit the door. They went in there. They seized over 700 boxes of ballots. Sounds like a lot. Sounds like a lot. And the commies, when I tell you the commies are in full meltdown mode over this, they are. They are. They're already trying to plant seeds in people's heads. They're already trying to switch the narrative up. They're trying to play their word games already. They're already trying to do the smoke and mirrors, look over here, blah, 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 right? Worry about this. Worry about what Trump might do, not what we did. Worry about Trump might do this, but not that we actually did this, right? It's all this, what the commies do. That's how they play the game. Good thing for us, we've seen this long enough. There's been enough independent journalists on this. There's been enough content producers on this where people have been brought up to speed and understand how these games are played, how these games work. And yeah, so they're on their way to Quantico. They're being evaluated. Can't wait to see what comes from that. All while that's going on, though, you betcha the commie machine will be pumping their propaganda like nobody's business to make sure their side gets the info from them, make sure their side gets all hyped up, make sure their side gets all antsy, juiced, ready to go, right? Because they're starting it. Minneapolis rioting is over. We need something else, right? They perpetually need rioting and chaos in the streets while Trump is in office because it distracts from the actual findings, right? The shock troops in Minneapolis, the rioting, the constant physical interactions with ICE and warning criminal illegal aliens that they're coming, creating that chaos was all purposely done to distract us from the fraud that was actually uncovered. Billions of dollars of fraud was uncovered there. Right? We were deporting in all different, Chicago, Texas, right? We've done some in California. We've done some in New York. But we didn't have what we had except in Minneapolis. Why was it so elevated in Minneapolis? Because the fraud's there. You got to get everyone else talking about the Somalis being treated or the American citizens being treated and ICE being these execution. I can't believe I'm hearing this garbage out of some conservative people now. But ICE are executioners in the street? Are we for real? People on our side are going out there and saying that now. I can't believe that. Now, yes, have 2 American citizens been killed with their interactions with ICE? Yes. Were they executed? No. Were there unfortunate circumstances involving the shooting of these individuals? Yes. But were they peacefully standing there, minding their own business, holding a sign, and then ICE walks up and shoots them? No. But we have people in the conservative media, people that I've listened to for years that I held in high regard. I hear them say this, and I'm like, what is happening here? That we have people that are in the conservative movement now switching up on ICE, saying that they are the Nazis in the streets and they're the execution teams of President Trump. Just absolutely blew my mind hearing that this morning driving in on my way to work. Because I like to hear things. I like to get ideas. I like to think for myself. And I heard that, and I was frustrated by that. Because now we have a conservative guy who's very popular, who is now planting the seed in the people of our minds that ICE are execution squads, when that's far from the truth. It's not even close to the truth. But yet, that propaganda is being spread. Now, was that ICU nurse executed in the street? I don't believe so. To me, an execution is that you're lined up, you have no modes of defense, you are blindfolded, and I'm just picking you off because I can. He was not picked off because they can. There was an unfortunate incident that occurred where an agent acted, I believe, inappropriately. That's not an execution squad. That's an agent making a mistake, and that agent might have serious repercussions he might have to face in the future. Because people have seen that, no, right? And that's why Tom Homan went up there, because Trump is like, all right, we kind of got to get this under control now, because you don't want to give any more red meat to the left, because the left and the communists don't care, right? They keep coming, ratchet it up. Their willingness to accept casualties. They're okay for Renee Good to be shot. They're okay for the nurse to be shot. I keep forgetting his name. I'm sorry, guys. Alex, I think. But they wanted that. They absorbed those. Because at the end of the day now, if you look at what's going on in Minneapolis, they kind of got what they wanted. And we'll get into that in a minute. All right? But here, take a look at Fulton County's Georgia Democratic Commissioner, Mo Ivory, doing a live stream while the raid was going on down in Fulton County. Check her out.
Hey everybody, so here's an update. We're at the elections hub right here off of Fair Run Road, and they did correct the warrant, and they are now in there getting the documents. 700 boxes of 2020 ballots and accompanying things that go with it, absentee ballots, all the things, right? So our clerk of Superior Court, Shay Alexander, is in there making a log of everything that they're taking, but this is like all wrong. So we're trying to figure out a legal plan, and we should have one, whether that's an injunction, whether a motion to quash, whatever it is, we're trying to figure it out right now, because this is an attack on our elections, meant to keep you from trying to go to the polls in November, being too afraid to change what's going on in our nation. So instead of worrying about people dying in Minnesota, here we are at the Fulton County Elections Hub. So let me go find out what the legal plan is.
Mo lying, mo problems, mo fraud, mo problems. Right, Mo Ivory? Right, did you listen to her? Can you hear her? Can you hear the panic in her voice? Do you see how quickly she is speaking? Right, and she doesn't have any factual basis to say anything to the people about either two. It's about getting a messaging out there to get the people in a hysteric, to get them worked up, to put fear into them, right? That's what that purpose of that messaging was. And then did you hear the second part of that, right? Oh, this is an attempt to intimidate you from going to the voting box. How so? There's no intimidation here about going to the voter box. This is making sure our elections are secure, and who the American people vote for are the actual ones that are being selected. Mo Ivory don't like that because she knows what they're going to find. Okay? There's no coincidences. Maduro, Coomer, Fulton County, all this month, all in the past 3 weeks. Okay? They feel the pressure. They know it's mounting. They know it's building. All those communists know what they're tied to. They know they're tied to some NGOs or some or the DSA. They know there's money that's being circulated in and out of their pockets. They know they're in charge because they are put there by their machine. They all know this, and their job is, once they're in charge, is to protect the machine at all costs. Transparency and truth and what matters to the people go out the window, because what matters most is protecting the machine that puts you into power. That's what they do. And now you have someone trying to buck that machine, trying to break down that machine, and they will stop at nothing to make sure that machine operates as is. So I can only imagine that these commies are going to ratchet it up more. What's coming next? I don't know. But what do they promote? Chaos? So just expect chaos somewhere along the way. Because that's all they have. They don't have facts. They don't have the truth. They got lies and propaganda. They got smoke screens. That's what they have. They don't have the hard evidence. Right? Like, legitimately, you're Fulton County. Why would you not turn over your ballots in October to the Georgia Election Commission? Why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't you work together? Hand it over, be like, all right, here it is. I'll sit with you. We'll go through them. Boop, 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 boop. Everything's great. See? But no one ever does that. And that would solve a lot of problems, especially if it was transparent and everything worked out correctly and, like, there was no fraud there. Like, we would walk away with eggs on our face and we'll be totally defeated. So why not just put your cards on the table? Because we know you're holding 2-3 offsuit in your hand and you bluffed your whole way through. And now we're calling you. And now you don't have the money to back what's in the pot. You're in deep shit. The commies are getting backed into the corner. And if you also didn't see, apparently Tulsi dropped a whole bunch of documents last night also about Russiagate and Obama. And if you guys also didn't catch, Tulsi was actually on the ground down there in Fulton County as well. There are some pictures of her on the phone, on the ground, overseeing these operations. She once was a Democrat, folks. And she decided to jump ship because she saw what the commies are. She saw what the D's were the C's. The D's were the C's. And she hopped off. And here's one more Fulton County representative. This is Fulton County Chairman Rob Pitts at a little presser last night as Fulton County was getting raided by the FBI. Listen to what he had to say.
Now they have been removed from this facility, out of our control. We don't know where they're being taken. We don't know what's going to happen to them. So we can no longer, and I can no longer, as chair of this board, satisfy not only the citizens of Atlanta, but the citizens of the world, that those ballots are still secure. So that is a major concern that I have right now. Again, my point is, once they were here, as long as they were here, in control of Fulton County, I was confident that they were safe and secure. And the other point I'd like to make, this goes back to the 2020 elections. For the life of me, I still cannot understand the fascination about the 2020 elections, which occurred 6 years ago. That election is over with. That election has been reviewed, it's been audited, and in every case, every instance, we get a clean bill of health. If there's anybody who knows what happened in 2020 on that night at State Farm Arena, it was Fulton County Commission Chairman Rob Pitts. I was there. So the fascination with this, I still don't understand it, but we'll have more to say later.
I just want to say that Fulton County Department of Registration and Elections is always and will continue to maintain fair, transparent, and accurate elections. And we will continue to do the work of the electorate here in Fulton County. The FBI is still in the building. We have fully complied. We will always comply with law enforcement and with the rule of law. And that's what we do here in Fulton County. And that's all I have to say.
Mr. Pitt.
Lies, lies, lies. Why fight the subpoena to turn them over for an audit? Because you know it's dirty, right? They never say anything like that. Oh, we need a court order. No, you don't. You could just go do it. You guys have the ultimate say here. But you want to use the judiciary to protect you because that's how the game works. That's why in 2020, nobody could bring a lawsuit about the stolen elections. Texas couldn't sue. Individuals couldn't sue. Those that were in the election couldn't sue. It was crazy. That opened my eyes a little bit to just how corrupt the courts were. That you're telling me you cannot have a state have standing on how another state had committed fraud in their presidential election because the winner of that state will determine who will become president and affect my state? Crazy logic. Actually, not logical is the actual answer. That is not logical. Joe makes the comparison all the time, right? The jelly bean jar and the jelly beans. Yeah. If you're not going to operate in the parameters of the jelly bean container, then what's the point of having the jelly bean container? Long and short of it. And that's what our courts ruled in 2020. But now I see we got legislation passed where actually candidates can now are allowed to have standing in courts to sue if they believe they've been wronged. Like, that's amazing that we need federal legislation passed around that. But did you hear specifically what Rob Pitt said there? Specifically about the ballots? I'm going to read it. I wrote it out. They have been removed from this facility, out of our control. We don't know where they're being taken. We don't know what's going to happen to them. Really, they're going from there to FBI headquarters in Quantico. What don't we understand? They're going to be looked at. What don't we understand? Right? But what he's doing here, he is subtly planting the narrative. We don't know what's going to happen to them. So he's giving the whisper out there that, hey, listen up. These ballots are going to be tampered with. So when Trump comes out and says the 2020 election stolen, our talking point is that, nope, Trump did dirty stuff. His administration tinkered with these ballots. They're getting that out there already. They're throwing that noise, that whistle, that dog whistle that the commies like to use. They're throwing it to their own people. Hey, pick up on this, guys. Pick up on this. Hey, Trump's going to mess with these. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. Because this is going to be our talking point. This is going to be our line of attack. When they uncover the fraud, we're going to boomerang back and just say, nope, Trump did it. Those ballots didn't look like that when they left here. Watch. Because that's what they do. All they do is lie. All they do is lie and cover up. It is so hard to find the truth, basically in any politician in this day and age. It is so sad. It is so sad because everyone's worried about offending somebody or offending their special interest donor, right? No one cares that they shit on the American people all the time. No one cares about that. No one cares that they constantly consider us stupid and talk to us like we're dumb and pretend like they don't need to tell us anything or show us anything because we're just mindless idiots that give them 50% of our income every time we get paid. Right? The disdain for Americans is crazy from the majority of our politicians. The majority of our politicians actually work against the betterment of our country, which would actually serve the American people because it actually serves their better interest. It is so crazy, their special interests, their donor groups. Right? We need to get rid of that stuff, but then you got to ask Congress to pass laws on themselves, and God forbid you should ever do that. How hard is it to get how hard has it been to try and get Congress to pass term limits? Right? That's never going to happen. That ship is long sailed, but hey, make sure the president got term limits, though. Make sure that guy that sits in that White House, he only gets 2 terms. Whoever sits there, 2 terms. But me, I can get 40. Yeah. I can get 30. Yeah. I can get in there at 30, and I could die in there at 90 and do 60 years in there. Yeah, that's important. Yeah, but they would never pass laws on themselves to limit their time in office because then they would have to actually give up power. And we know the human instinct is not to give up power or do that. Once you have power, how many people have ever had power and truly given it up if they weren't forced to, right? Very few, if not ever any. George Washington did. He could have been president until he died. The people loved him so much, but he knew two terms was enough. That's it. We're out. Our members of Congress should have took that same lead back then, but they didn't because they knew they had power already. And they wouldn't want to give that up immediately. That's why they actually never wrote it in to the Constitution, never established it into the Bill of Rights. They understood those. They understood that. They never wrote it in for the president either, right? That became a constitutional amendment in the 1900s, but the precedent was set by George Washington. And back then, a lot of those old timers, they kind of stood on principle for the most part. What their word meant was what it was. And then people paid homage and respect to Washington from then forward. He was considered he was the founder of this country, right? First president, great general. He knew. But our politicians today, they too know, but they don't want to do it because then I'm not gonna have any power. I'll still get my pension. I still get my medical, right? But I kind of gotta get a real job. I'm gonna have to get a real job because that money's still not gonna come in. Now my yearly salary of $150,000 isn't still gonna come in. So I gotta get a real job, but I really don't want to work a real job. I like working my congressional job, which is roughly about 180 days a year. Get to vacation, get some intel briefs, get insider stock trading. Life's pretty good, man. Why do I want to give this up? Because it would be the right thing to do. It would be the right thing to do. But maybe that comes one day in the future. Maybe. Who knows? But with all this stuff hitting Fulton County and these county commissioners and all those that handle the ballots, Trump's this, Trump's that, Trump. Senator Tubberville went on Benny Johnson last night, and I couldn't believe he said some of the stuff he said. And Benny actually looked like he was shocked too with some of the bombs being dropped out of Tubberville's mouth. Let's play cut 5, Damon.
President Trump's been posting a lot about Venezuelan election theft technology after black bagging Nicolas Maduro. Do you think that he's going to sing like a canary? Do you think that he's the man who knows where all the bodies are buried when it comes to this topic?
I don't think there's any doubt. That now this didn't start under Maduro. It started under Hugo Chavez, the president before that, because he got recalled in an election, and he came up with this system of machines that he was able to put out within his country and got himself elected. And then when that happened, he said, heck, we'll just do this internationally. So they started selling them all over the world, and that's how we ended up with them here. And now they're all controlled by a tech group in Venezuela. But I would hope that he would be singing, as you said, like a canary and telling people what's really going on. I would think that this is a lot of why President Trump went in there, because he knows the world cannot survive with crooks running the voting systems, not just in our country, but all over the world. And we cannot allow these machines to continue on. We have to have paper ballots, one-day voting, and everybody has to show up with an ID. If we don't do that, it's going to be over. We cannot survive like this. And again, to get this passed, what do we need to do? It's passed in the House. We're going to have to bust the filibuster. We're going to have to bust the filibuster, and then we're going to have to get some of these rhinos to vote with us. I don't know whether we get 51, even if we bust the filibuster and actually do something for the country. I hate to say that, but I've seen things work up here for 6 years, and we've got a lot of people that just do not believe in President Trump. They don't like him, and they want him gone, and they feel like this is a way they can get rid of him.
So did you hear that conversation had basically two different components. The first part of it was Tubberville talking about Maduro, and even before Maduro, right? Chavez in Venezuela, how the idea of election rigging was birthed there, and then instilled there, and then exported to the United States. Have you heard any other politicians say this? Have you heard members of Congress say this? I haven't heard too many, if not any. And Senator Tubberville is up there on the Betty Johnson show, which is pretty popular. He's got access to the White House, right? He's on the nice list. He gets the access. So he got the access to Tubberville, and then Tubberville used Benny's platform to launch this announcement, right? To warm people up to this, to start breaking in those that are listening to the, right? So like Benny is on the inner workings of the conservative media, right? So like he has that inner access to Trump. So what they're doing is they're uploading his audience now. His audience that doesn't go outside of Benny is now being introduced by Tommy Tubberville to how Venezuela is tied to election fraud. And that's what they're doing there with Benny. They're using Benny as a tool to get the message out through Tommy Tubberville to Benny's followers who are majority conservatives, but yet don't go deep, right? Like that's what's happening. So they're prepping the right, and they're prepping the rest of the country that, A, this is a real thing. Get used to hearing this. Get used to seeing this. Get ready for it to pop. Right? It's planting the seeds. It's planting the seeds along the way. I believe they know what they got already. They knew what they had, right? And who was it? It was Joseph Teddy we were talking to a week or two ago, and we were talking about how long this type of operation would have taken to plan and to execute, to take Maduro out, right? And if you go back to that, right? Trump came in January 20th, 2025. Maduro was extracted early January 2026. So basically 365 days, a little shorter. To extract a leader of a foreign country that's an adversary of yours and do it to the level that we were able to do it definitely takes extensive planning. We went over all that. It takes extensive planning to see this through, to carry this through, to plan it from all the way, from A through Z. Right? So that brings me back to when Trump first comes into office, plucking Maduro out of Venezuela had to be on one of his, top 5 of priority list? Close the border, deport illegals, get Maduro, pass his tax bill. Right? So that was a top priority. So when he came into power, when he came back in last year, and he was like, all right, get my team organized. These are my top 3, top 5. Maduro's one of them. And is that because of narco-terrorism? I don't think so. I don't think that would be a priority for him, because if narco-terrorism was a legitimate beef of Trump, I believe Mexico would be on that list. I believe Colombia would be on that list. China would be on that list with the production of fentanyl, right? But those nations, no. It was Maduro, specifically Venezuela. That's not narco-terrorism. That's election fraud. That's the heart of the beast. He went into the heart of the beast, picked him up. Got him in New York City jail, man. Crazy. He's sharing a cell with P. Diddy. They're hanging out. And then deposition with Coomer. Fulton County raid. And also, let's not forget, for about 2 or 3 weeks before this, Trump was flooding his Truth Social account with election fraud, election integrity, election fraud, right? All his feed. Constantly getting the message out there, getting the message out there. So this is all building. And I want to play Joe from yesterday, actually, because Joe is talking about, yesterday was talking about the arrest of Coomer based on the Coomer deposition. Let's play Joe from yesterday.
Just so you know, I've been blocked on every social media. I've been canceled on every platform. Emerald Robinson's talking about who? Eric Coomer. Benny Johnson talking about who? Eric Coomer. DC Drano talking about who? Eric Coomer. What's everybody talking about? Eric Coomer. Guess who's got to fly back into the country for another deposition? Eric Coomer. Oh, yeah. I'm going to tell you right now, arrests will be made. People are going to prison. Don't worry about it. Trump's not going to win. I made sure of it. And how did I find him? Because he just couldn't help himself. He had to get on an Antifa call and he had to talk about it. And then I had to just dig in. Because even up until that point, nobody knew. And I built a model and sent it to Washington. And they're like, hey, we want you to come here. And I came there and I was like, here it is. The first model ever built on how they stole the elections.
That was Joe yesterday. We cut that up, put it on social media, got over 30,000 hits on X, right? Because it's the truth. Joe has stuck by the same story with the same facts for years. for years. He believes arrests are coming. I believe arrests need to come. They should be coming. The fraud is there. It is very apparent. If you actually dug in and actually followed some of the research that's been out there, I've been lucky enough to get some eyes on some materials where it's just eye-opening what has occurred from the 2020 election. It's absolutely eye-opening that our politicians have allowed this charade to go on, and those in charge have allowed this charade to go on for so long. For so long. It seems like it's coming to an end. And once again, that's why the commies are acting the way they do. They're a cornered animal right now. Right? We all know how cornered animals act. They get desperate. They come out swinging. They act irrational. They're in survival mode. They don't care about what they've done. They don't care about who they've hurt. They don't they don't care about any of that. They care about themselves and self-preservation, right? Primal instinct. They're in the corner. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? Well, I believe Waltz and Frey felt like they were in the corner in Minneapolis, so they allowed chaos to reign to draw the heat off of them. Right? They knew they were complicit in the fraud. There is no way state officials did not know that much money was being defrauded by the American people. All right? Are you that ignorant and incompetent? Or are you willing participant? Either way, you're not fit to be in charge. Right off the bat, right? Like that should be the basic primal argument, is that those clowns are not fit to be in charge, period. If you have billions of dollars of fraud, especially from illegal immigrants occurring in your city and state, and you're actually signing off on this and actually you know about it but choose not to investigate and turn the blind eye, you're complicit. You need to go to jail. So they wanted to smoke off of them for a little bit. They wanted to heat off of them for a little bit. So how do you do that? How do you make that happen? You use your shock troops. You use your useful idiots to draw the heat onto others, to get them off you, to make it about ICE and not about the fraud, even though the fraud is the reason why ICE is there. And ICE is there because your policies prevent your city and state local law enforcement from working with federal agencies for deportations. Right? It's all done. It's all done this way on purpose. It's all done this way on purpose to ensure mass chaos all the time. And then mass chaos just becomes the new normal. That's what we had to get used to here in America under Obama and Biden. We had to get used to the chaos. We had to get used to boys in women's bathrooms. We had to get used to that. We had to get used to women being sexually assaulted and murdered by criminal illegal aliens. We needed to get used to that because policies wouldn't change. So what do we have to get used to? We had to get used to that. Right? They weren't stopping it. They actually encouraged it. We had to get used to illegal aliens coming here and getting checks, cell phones, places to stay, EBT cards. We had to get used to that. We had to get used to all that. Even though it's not normal, we had to get used to how kids being groomed in schools. We had to get used to conservative parents being targeted by the DOJ because they were speaking out against school boards. We had to get used to all that. We had to get used to either taking a vaccine or losing our job. We had to get used to either supporting what the previous administration did or we would get deplatformed. Right, so I don't want to hear anything about how the Trump administration is off the rails. Not even close. The only reason why they're off the rails is because they are bringing back normalcy to America. They're taking the absurd and kicking it in the face every day. That's what needs to be done. The absurdity that we have dealt with for so long needs to be addressed. But the problem is when you use just logic with absurdity, nothing changes. The absurd just get more and more angry. They get more and more agitated, and then they lash out. So what do you have to do to absurdity? You have to kick it in its teeth. That's what you have to do to it. That's the only way to defeat it. You can't logically defeat something that's illogical. You can't logically defeat something that won't use rational thinking skills. You can't do it. The only thing you can do is constantly beat it over the head again and again and again and again and again. And that's where we are. Because that's what needs to be done in order for girls to have the girls' bathroom to themselves again. For girls to play in girls' sports again. I can't believe 600 female athletes lost championships because of transgender, right? Did you hear that from Victor earlier in the show? Like, that is absolutely inexcusable. That is so disgusting. There are biological differences between boys and girls in sports. That's the reality. You ever watch the WNBA? Those are grown women. Grown women, 20, 30 years old. Can any of them dunk? One or two? There are physical differences between men and women. Women should compete against men. And those WNBA stars, I would love to them to see how they feel when you get a 6'9" tranny playing in the WNBA. I can't wait for that to happen. I pray that happens. Because once that happens, watch all of them cry about it. I can't have a penis in the locker room. I can't get someone's nuts on my head when they dunk on me in basketball. What do you mean? He says he doesn't have one. Oh, you mean he really does? You mean it really swings? No, get out. But he identifies as a she. That doesn't count? That doesn't cancel it out? Oh. See? And that's what it takes for the commies to wake up, is they actually got to get hit in the head with their boomerang on whatever policy that they want. Right? I support illegal aliens until an illegal alien breaks into my house and rapes me. I'm sorry to say this, but unfortunately, that's what it takes for some of these people to understand the absurdity of their political positions that have these impacts on the American people. I am sorry for speaking this way, but it's the hard truth. Until each and every one of these commies get hits upside the head with the boomerang of communism, they won't change. And then eventually when they get hit with the boomerang, they might change. But just talking to them, they will never change, right? They have to experience the pain firsthand. And unfortunately, a lot of Americans needed to do that too under Biden and the COVID regime, right? A lot of Americans need to feel that. A lot of Americans need to get hit with that. Oh, I need to put this in what about my body, my choice? Nope. Right? That right there should have blown up all of their bullshit. All of their positions, not all their positions, but their social positions. My body, my choice. You can't tell me I can't have an abortion, but take this vaccine or lose your job. Oh, shit. I need a vaccine card if I eat here. I got to show a vaccine card to eat here. My body, my choice. No, it didn't exist, right? So that just shows you what they're all about. Because that boomerang hit him in the face and they didn't have an argument for that. Notice how that argument went away after COVID. Notice how that argument went away. That argument is not existent anymore because they know what they did with it. They wrecked millions of lives, gave millions of people that had pre-existing conditions, got them even sick, got them worse sick, and even killed some of them. All true from the COVID vaccine. And then you force parents to put that stuff into their babies? Are you kidding me? Untested, but mandatory for public school in New York City. I had friends that had to fight this battle. They didn't want to give their daughters the COVID shot, but they had to because they couldn't get them into school. Like, that is the stance of communist states. Untested vaccine, don't care. You need to put this in your arm if you're coming into our building. Right? You want to talk about communists? You want to talk about communists? You want to talk about fascists? Communists and fascists leave you no room for choices. Okay? Can you still get an abortion in America? Yes, you can. Can you get it at the federal level? No, you can't. You need to go to the states. The states have decided, right? So it's not taken away. It's still there on the books. Can my friends take the vaccine out of their kids? No. Right? The communists play to win. They play to impose their will, and they don't care what they do to you to get their way. That's why this evil needs to be beat back into the hell it's in. That's why they're acting the way they're acting, because the revolution is coming for them. But it's not it's the revolution to restore American greatness. It's the revolution to fight off the communist infiltration. That's what this is the counter-revolution to restore America to what it was, or at least to bring back a semblance of sanity in this country. And no one's saying you can't be a tranny, everyone. You can be a tranny all you want. You just can't use the freaking bathroom. You can't use the girls' room if you're a boy, and you can't play in girl sports if you're a boy. That's all. And if these states really cared about transgender rights, I know there's so many kids that are confused. Well, hate to break to you, start a transgender league for kids. Oh, there's not enough? Well, then maybe they shouldn't be taking over spots in girl sports where girls are losing their position on teams, because it's not fair to them. Sometimes those people that have mental health issues need to get help first before you appease them. Got to beat this evil back into the hellhole it came from. Got to get these people out of our way. Okay? That's just what it is. And you could go live your life, but you do not get to tell me how to live mine. And right, well, you're telling me how to live. Yeah, no, there's societal norms that have been established over thousands and thousands of years. And one of those societal norms is a man is a man based on their sex. A woman is a woman based on their sex, based on their genitalia. End of story. Those are societal norms, right? But during the Obama and Biden revolutionary times, right, it was a wage on societal norms. That's what they did. And crazy became the normal, and then us normal folks were the crazy ones. So now the adults are regaining control, and these children are throwing tantrums. And that's what we have to put up with all the time, is these tantrums that the left throws. But these tantrums are purposely thrown because they are still gaining inches that they want. It's crazy. So Tom Homan went up to Minneapolis the other day, met with Fry, met with Tampon Tim, and there seems to be an agreement worked out between the two sides. So let's see what Tom Homan had to say about what's going to be happening in Minneapolis going forward. B1.
And he has clarified for me that county jails may notify ICE of the release dates of criminal public safety risks so ICE can take custody of them upon the release from the jail. And let me tell you why that's important. I know people are a lot concerned about the manpower has been set in law enforcement manpower. Look, I've said this many times before. I've said it for the last several years. Give us access to the illegal alien public safety threat and the safety and security of a jail. It's common sense. It's safer for the community, it's safer for the agent, and it's safer for the alien. Because anything can happen on a street arrest. It just makes common sense. And for the people that argue, well, we're a welcoming community because we want victims and witnesses of crime that are here illegally to feel safe to come to police without fear they're working with ICE, we're not going to talk to the victim and witness of crime. There's no problem there. They should feel safe to come to police and ask for help. All we want is to talk to the person that local and state law enforcement authorities locked in a jail cell.
So that was Tom Homan talking about basically the deal that was made with the governor and mayor of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And that simply is, we'll get the criminal illegal aliens. You'll call us when you have them. We will come pick them up, and we won't be in the streets. That's kind of the deal that I'm understanding was made. Okay, like they are prioritizing criminal illegal aliens. So does that mean they're stopping the street patrols? No, but are they scaling them back? Big time. So what does that mean? It means that the Trump administration got a little bit of a win. It means the left got a little bit of a win. So here we are to try and keep the peace. But what does that also mean is that the communists have moved up, have gained more ground, have now solidified the playbook on how to deal with ICE. cause mass chaos in the streets, cause the overreaction, then force Trump to the negotiating table. We'll give you the criminals, but we're going to keep the other ones. You're not going to get them. We keep our population. We keep our protected. And the fraud train continues because they still get medical care, right? I saw an interesting post on X the other day talking about you need to debank the illegal aliens. That's an interesting take. I don't know what to do with that, right? Because there are good illegal aliens that have been in this country for some time, but they also have not taken up the offer and the cash settlement to fly home and then repay and to come back the proper way. So how do you deal with all this? How do you deal with an immigration system that basically no one wanted to touch for 20, 30 years purposely? Like Trump tried to touch it, but the rhinos fought him, right? He could have got better. He could have got more stuff done in his first term, but they chose not to. Obama was the deporter in chief. No one talked about that. He deported more people than Trump has. He also let more people in, but no one talked about that. So what do you do with this is my question. Because I know there's no good answer. I know there's hard answers that you could give, which is no, everyone's got to go. And the ones that don't have a criminal record, that have done the right thing, you still got to go out and you still got to apply to come in the right way. Yeah, I get it. I understand that. I agree with that. Because where does it stop? Right? Everyone's turned eyes this. Everyone's an exception to the rule. Everyone wants the rule, but everyone's the exception to the rule, right? So how do you clean this up? Yes, criminal illegal aliens need to go 100% out the door, right? But you also have illegal aliens that are here in the system that are just here on the system. Should they stay? They haven't committed a crime. Do they get a right to stay? Because then how can they get a job, right? Because then you need a good social, right? Because you're an illegal, right? So you didn't come in the right way, but it's how you could get the proper documentation to get right? All that stuff needs to get figured out, but no one ever takes time to figure it out. The can just keeps getting kicked down the road because no one ever wants to put a hard stop to it. Because once you put a hard stop to it and the line is drawn in the sand, people don't like that here in America. People like to get what they want. Right? It's customer service here in America. We got to make everyone feel good all the time. So yeah, I don't know. I'm glad that the confrontations seem to be quieting in the streets of Minneapolis. Okay, I am glad about that. I don't think any American is happy to see what we've been seeing over the past couple of weeks on the streets in Minneapolis and throughout Minnesota. I don't believe people want to see that happen. But also at the same time, what are you going to do about the 20 to 40 million illegal immigrants that were brought in just under Biden alone? Right? Not everyone's a criminal illegal alien. I understand that. Let's say there's 10 million criminal illegal aliens. And that number's probably too high still. How are you getting everyone out? You're not. So what do you do about it? Because they still count in the census. And they're still getting entitlements here in America without contributing to the system. So how does that work? Because we operate at a net loss when that stuff happens. I know, it sucks. I believe we need to go full horde. You got to get everyone out, and the ones that want to come back in that don't have a criminal history, the exception is we put them in the front of the line to come back in. We make that the exception. You're out, but you get dropped in the first queue. And maybe we'll get to you in 3 to 6 months. I know it's not great. No one wants to hear that. But it's the reality of the situation we're in. Like, there's just been too many that have come into this country, and now if you want to get it cleaned up, you have to go through it. You can't half-ass it. Now, in a year, does Trump say, all right, we're done, we got all the criminal illegal aliens out, we deported, I don't know, 6, 7 million? Okay, what about the other 13 now? It's just questions. If you have a good answer, drop it into the chat for me or something, because I really don't know. And the lottery too. Absolutely no freebies. Yeah, I hear you. And, also, if you're pregnant, you come over and you have a baby, right? You're here, you crossed over illegally into the country, but boom, you just gave birth. That child is an American citizen. And now we don't separate. Well, maybe we do now, but, a long time we weren't separating families. But I like the Trump's administration stance is, the kid can go too then if we're deporting them. Because, or the family can go too, right? But that was another thing that the communists used against us. Oh, we can't separate families, even though they're literally busting open our immigration system. And don't think I'm just talking about Latin and South America. You know who else did a shit ton of this to us that no one talks about? The Chinese. The Chinese have done this shit for a long time that no one talks about. Why? Because China has the money. Right? Like, look here, look here, look here. But hey, we got legitimate communists also coming over, having babies and infiltrating. Let's not forget that. And the college students, right? Right, that's another thing of immigration that no one even talks about. But the mass migration from China into here, the visas for Chinese students coming in here, like, why are we allowing our number one adversary to import their next generation into our schools? Well, just to learn American knowledge? Yeah, okay. Yeah, okay. Infiltrated from within. That's another part of the immigration part that needs to get cleaned up, all right? It's not just the migration from Latin and South America that's been an issue. Okay, it's also Europeans and Asians that have overstayed visas for a long time. It's all of it. It is all of it. Because every little drip in every little bucket adds up to where it washes out what the American people want. So it all needs to get purged. It all needs to go. Right? And Stephen Miller reminded everyone the other day as to why we were in Minnesota, right? We're not in Minnesota because we don't like Somalis. We're in Minnesota because we don't like the fraud that's been going on in the Somali community, right? We were doing deportations in Texas, California, New York, Illinois. No other city or state reacted the way they did except Minneapolis, Minnesota. And do you really think the Minnesotans are so tough up there, eh? No. What they are is well organized and well funded. Neville Roy Singham, DSA, out its side in China. Keep saying that name. But listen to Stephen Miller's take on the fraud in Minneapolis.
Believe that the Somali fraud operation in Minnesota is the single greatest theft of taxpayer dollars through welfare fraud in American history. We believe that we have only scratched the very top of the surface of how deep this goes. And you're familiar with all the scams with pretending that children have autism who are not in fact autistic, with pretending to enroll people in food programs when in fact nobody was ever enrolled, and engaging in massive fraud, lying, and theft and grift on a scale we've never seen before in American history. The total bill, the total tab for this is going to be far beyond the numbers we've already seen reported. We believe the state government is fully complicit in this scheme. And we believe that what we are going to uncover is going to shock the American people. Look, based on the records that we already have, and this is a significant undercount, by the way, 75% of the Somali population in Minnesota is on welfare. But that's likely a significant undercount of just how much of a financial burden the Somali refugee population is imposing on this country.
75% of the Somalis in Minnesota are on welfare. Entitlements. What are they producing here, right? And that's just one subsect. What are the other groups, right? We played a clip yesterday from Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz lighting up the Russian mafia in LA because they have a hospice fraud circuit running out there. Think ICE is going to go there? I'm just curious. I would love to see it. Any fraud that's uncovered needs to be dealt with. And if you're an illegal immigrant that's committing fraud here, you need to go. If you're an American committing fraud, you need to go. You need to get cuffed up, right? Like, honestly, us regular Americans that do everything right, we're tired. We're tired of the bullshit. We're tired of being the only ones that are doing the right thing. Because honestly, if we weren't doing the right thing, this country would be the shit. But yet we're the ones that are blamed for everything as well. And that's what's infuriating about this. The ones that go to work all the day, raise their families the right way, pay their taxes, pay their bills, pay their mortgages, right? We're the ones that do it the right way. People that have those principles. We're the ones that do it the right way. And what do we get for it? Grab your ankles, bend over, no lube. That's what we get for it. Well, everybody else that comes to this country gets a little piece of the pie free of charge and then tries to defraud us as well. That is unsustainable. I completely understand the resentment towards our government for this. I completely understand the call for no federal income tax. I'm not paying taxes this year. I completely get it. Completely understand. You know what's going to happen to the first 100 people, first 1,000 people that don't pay their taxes? They're going to come arrest you within 2 weeks. Hell, probably within 5 days, actually, because the federal government cannot allow that to happen. So they would crack down on that like nobody's business. Right? Yeah, we all can say not paid. I would love to see that. Love to see that. But that's the truth of it, right? Like, your average American that works 40 to 50 hours a week, pays his taxes, takes care of his wife, takes care of his kid, make sure there's food on the table. And then you see all this other bullshit that people are staying at home defrauding the American people, which is basically robbing my tax dollars. Don't tell me illegal immigration is not a crime. Okay? Don't tell me that. Don't tell me illegal immigration doesn't cost me a thing. Don't tell me no one's illegal. Don't tell me we're on stolen land. Don't give me all those bullshit talking points from the communist Marxist, okay? Don't give me any of that trash. The bottom line is the American people are tired. The American people had suffered enough. We are tired of seeing everyone else get their piece of the American pie except those that are actually here in America, building America for the future. Okay? That's why the illegal immigrants need to go. Criminal, non-criminal. If you're on public assistance and you're here illegally, you have to go. Why? Because you are taking from something you have never put into. That's why you need to go. Hard stop. And yeah, there's Americans that haven't put into it. Well, I'm sorry. Guess what? They're still American. And I believe in taking care of our own first. If we take care of our own in our own house, we would be in a hell of a lot better position if we weren't taking care of everyone else's riffraff that washed up on our shores. That's the truth. We should not have homeless military veterans anywhere. We should not have military veterans that cannot access the mental health care that they need. But yet at the same time, we make sure illegal immigrants have cell phone, hotel rooms, EBT cards. And what have they done for us? They brought us multiculturalism. What have how soldiers done for us? Preserved our way of life? Swallowed every lie that our politicians said and still said, screw it, I'm still putting this uniform on because I love the American people and I'm going to defend the American people to my last dying breath? And what do we do for those guys? We step over them. We have people in the government that look at those people and see them as the Nazis, that resent them and would rather step on them and hand shit over to a criminal illegal alien and protect them. Those people need to get out of Congress as well. Those people need to get out of state legislatures as well. Because we have to eliminate this mind virus that's in our government and in our country. And we need to replace it with people that know the greatness of what this country can achieve. And that's why the pendulum is swinging back. And that's why the commies are acting the way they're acting. Right? Remember 2 weeks ago, Don Lemon stormed the church, and somehow a couple of people that are on camera with good old Donnie Boy got arrested, but yet he didn't. He is yet to get charged for that. Well, let's take a look why. Let's put this post up, Damon. Meet Minnesota federal judge Patrick Schultz. He is a donor and volunteer for the Pro-Illegal Alien Immigrant Law Center and is the same judge who shielded Don Lemon from accountability after storming the church and is threatening to hold ICE Director Todd Lyons in contempt. The judicial cartel is real. It needs to be purged. How can we have a republic when the judiciary is tainted like this? So true. This guy is left-wing aligned with Donnie Boy Lemon. And what does he do? He squashes the arrest warrant. I'm sorry, he squashes the criminal complaint that would lead to the arrest warrant. Haves and have-nots. Notice how the other two that got cuffed up, their arrest warrant wasn't squashed. But Donnie Boy's was. Why? Because he's a chosen one. He's part of the Have Club. The judiciary cartel is a real deal. We talk about it on the show all the time. Until state legislatures and Congress start purging the courts and holding impeachments against corrupt judges and removing them from the courts, it's only going to get worse. Especially if you're a conservative or right-leaning, the judiciary is stacked against you. Okay? The judiciary is stacked against you. It took, remember the football coach? I forgot from what state, Ohio maybe? Indiana? I can't remember the state. But the football coach, that all he did was pray with his team after games. He was fired. And he tried to sue. It took him going all the way to the Supreme Court before the Supreme Court turned around and said, absolutely you have a right because you have that as a constitutional right protected. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court, okay? The judiciary is corrupt. The judiciary is infected by morons. The judiciary is infected by the Communist Manifesto. And they will protect all above the American people. Plain and simple. And until our politicians start purging the courts and holding these judges accountable, and I don't want to hear a different interpretation. You can't have a 180-degree different view of every law that's ever written. You can't, unless you want to, unless you are programmed to, which means you're also programmed to undo the laws that you hate. And that's what the judiciary does, especially in blue states. The judiciary out here in Colorado is corrupt as I have ever seen. And I'm not talking like I'm like a Peter Dershowitz or some big-time lawyer, right? But like I'm an everyday citizen and I see the stories that come out of the courts here in Colorado and I'm like, you're crazy. I see my case getting kicked out. I'm like, are you out of your bird? But that's what it is. The courts protect their side. They are no longer the arbiters of truth. They're not the referee in the game. They're the sixth man. They come off the bench. You're going down on a fast break, 2-on-1. You got all the goods on the guy you're going to sue. You're going to go up and you're going to dunk and teabag him. But you know what the judge does? The judge comes off the bench, takes your legs out before you go up. That's what the judge does. Because they interfere. Because they protect their own. They're not in it for the American people. They're not in it to protect the U.S. Constitution. They're in it to put in the Communist Manifesto. That's what they're there for. Judges are supposed to be intelligent. No, they are programmed idiots that use their education to spin and pigeonhole and take different little pieces of court rulings to side with the communists. That's what they do. That's why Trump always needs to go through the appeals. That's why Trump always needs to get up to the Supreme Court, right? Try being a regular citizen. No. Try being a regular citizen trying to justify a wrong in this legal system. The legal system knows that you won't survive it. The law of averages is so against the regular Joe that goes to court. That's why. And they know it. The amount of money somebody has to spend to get proper legal representation The regular person doesn't have it. And the judges know it. And the lawyers know it. And no one cares. Because communism trumps everything else. And they're backed across the board. They get funding from everywhere, right? DAs are funded by Soros and Singham. They are. Right? The dude we played yesterday from Philly, he's a Soros-backed DA. And you see the mentality they have. Right? These communists are in at every level. And it's because the money's able to be shipped around, right? Oh, we need some DAs, we're going to back this candidate. Oh, we need some protests, we're going to couple $100 million there, right? Let's take a look at this clip out of Minneapolis about just how organic all these protests were against ICE and protecting the criminal illegals. No, they weren't. They were organized, and you'll see it. Cut 4.
Look at this. Here goes a group of professional activists renting a U-Haul, getting signs out of their trucks. This is not organic. These are the same printed signs. And now they're heading to the federal courthouse.
What do we want? When do we want it?
Do you know who's organizing this?
The PSL, Party for Socialism.
Oh, okay.
Do you want to sign?
I'm just going to observe. Thank you, though.
Tuck in, meet your neighbors, because again, hey, remember, we're not doing this by ourselves, right?
Which group is organizing this?
Party for Socialism and Liberation. We've been out here for a few years.
How do you join? Like, if you want to also donate?
It's pretty easy. You can look it up, pslweb.org.
Got it. Is there like a Minnesota or Minneapolis chapter?
Twin Cities.
Twin Cities. So, okay. So people can simply just donate and goes to signs and whatever out here to protest. Okay.
If we don't get it, if we don't get it.
Right? Right? And did you hear it? The party that's responsible for that one is the Party for Socialism and Liberation, PSL. PSL is directly tied to Antifa, which is directly tied to Islamic Circle of North America, which is directly tied to Roy Singham, right? So like it's an all funnel game. It's a funnel game. This is not organic. It is all about the money. It's all about producing chaos. It's all about making sure there's confusion on the streets. It's about brainwashing our kids. It's about unleashing lawfare and the courts against us, right? It's all of it. And then you have communist derangement as well. Just the mentality of these people. It's not compatible here in America. It's really not. If you look around over the past, 4, 5, 10, 15, I don't know, how long? I don't know, we'll go 8, 10 years. What side is the one side that is constantly perpetuating the violence? What side is the one side that is constantly celebrating the violence? It's not ours. Charlie Kirk got his neck blown out on national TV, probably the most gruesome thing majority of Americans have ever seen on TV or online. And what'd you have? You had leftists in the street celebrating his death. You got leftists in the street dancing, right? They celebrate this stuff. They celebrated Trump being shot at. They celebrate it all because they're disgusting human beings, and we tolerate it. Okay, who are we celebrating? What are we celebrating violence with? Are we celebrating any? No, we're not. Are we pushing for ramped up deportation? Yes. Are we pushing for return to normalcy? Yes. Are we pushing for boys out of girls' sports? Yes. Are we pushing for boys out of girls' locker rooms? Yes. We're pushing for all that because that's normalcy. We want to go back there. But the rhetoric from the communists make it almost impossible. Because you get the non-thinking entities on the streets that listen to these communists, and you constantly get these stupid interactions in the street where people are put into dangerous spots or compromising positions because of the derangement of the communists. This incident took place out here in Colorado in a King Soopers parking lot. Let's take a look at cut 1.
What do you owe these people? These are anti-trans pieces of shit. That doesn't mean you have to roll up and I do. They're trying to kill trans people. Is what they're trying to do. I don't see them trying to kill people. I see them standing there, bro. No, that's not cool. They will eventually. Really? Is this lady gonna kill you? Are you a trans person? I just don't like people who get trans. I agree with you. You know who else I don't like? Who show up and cause chaos for no reason except they're a prick. Just as bad. You're being just as bad as the people you're saying you hate. Why don't you yes, you are. You intolerant. You're doing the same goddamn thing.
Dumb.
So did you hear the talking point that gentleman had to say? They're killing trans people, right? This dude showed up. There was petitioners in the parking lot. He didn't like what they were getting petitions for. Obviously, it was to keep boys out of girls' sports out here in Colorado because that's trying to get onto the ballot this year. So what did he do? He flipped the table of these organizers that were just getting petitions because they're killing trans people. This is what the rhetoric does. It uploads into these non-thinking people, right? And they regurgitate it back out. Collecting signatures against trans target acquired must unleash hell. Flip table, right? And then get into, oh, they're killing trans kids. No, they're not. They're trying to protect women. They're trying to protect girls that are going to school. That's what they're trying to do. Okay, don't tell me there aren't sexual assaults that occur in girls' bathrooms at school. Don't tell me that doesn't happen, because it does. Schools don't broadcast it to the parents. Schools won't let the media know because it's bad business, right? That's why what happened in Loudoun County a couple years ago, right? Loudoun County had a trans male student that pretended to be female but was going to the bathrooms and sexually assaulting girls in the bathrooms. But Loudoun County, instead of disciplining kid, just shipped the kid from school to school to school, because it'd be bad business if they had to actually discipline or call the police, right? But they would cover it up. Why? Because school districts cover up things that boomerang back on them. I have to cover up the transsexual assault because I promote transism in my schools. I promote trannies in my schools. So I have to cover up the crime. That's what they do. School boards are unethical. Speaking of school boards, a little side note, I'm taking a little bit of a dub on this one. Superintendent of Cherry Creek, Comrade Smith, is announcing his retirement on Friday. So good for him. He should have been fired. He should not be keeping his pension and his pay and all that other bullshit. But he is retiring as superintendent of Cherry Creek, which is good to hear. Now they need to undo the entire board and everyone else in that department, but that one person at a time. That's a good start. That's a good start. So yeah, the school districts are complete chaos. They will do anything to protect their people. End of story. They're not there for the kids. They're not there for the community. School districts are there to protect their own. End of story. Whoever's in power, they run the school district that way to make sure they stay in power and squash those that dissent. True story. Oh, and Chris, hey Chris, if you get wind of this show, give me a call, buddy. Shoot me an email. Patrick@untamednation.com. Love to have you on, brother. Love to have a one-on-one with you. Love to talk about how everything played out at Creek. So give me a call, okay? Shoot me an email, brother. You're a good man, right? We could talk. Give me a call. Loser. All right. Abortion. Abortion is another thing that Marxists and communists have been going crazy about. Okay? Trump overturned abortion, Roe v. Wade out the window. No, once again, state rules. State rules, right? Watch this interaction between a pro-lifer and an abortion lover and tell me what your thoughts are.
This is my city. What are you doing here? You're trying to antagonize people, so go the fuck away. Go the fuck away. Go the fuck away. It's simple. Go the fuck away.
She's so
go
pretty.
home.
Why don't we just let her get raped, pregnant, and forced to have a baby?
That'd be great.
I would carry full term. Yeah, that's how you would, and you'd be traumatized for life.
She's traumatized already.
She already is. I'm not the one who looks traumatized here.
You can go.
You're right.
You can go.
We're a little old.
We're gonna stay together. We're gonna stay together the rest of the day.
How do you say you're for women, but then
we're gonna stay together?
Shut
the up, bitch.
How would you?
Why are you antagonizing people? Why are you antagonizing people?
Evidence of
Why are you antagonizing people?
That is disgusting.
No, she's come with your elders. Come with your elders, please. We've been fighting for this for 50 years.
She's so young. I hope you guys have a good day.
You guys hear that? Did you see that? You see these the communist women, liberals? I'll give them liberals here. That's a summary of them. That's a summary of them. They're liberal women. But did you hear that? Let her get raped. So someone that is about women's rights actually wants to see another woman get raped. That's how they think. They immediately go to violence. Why? Because logic actually causes them to short circuit. Critical thinking causes them to short circuit. Any disagreement that someone has principles on causes them to short circuit because they superficially have maybe 5 to 10 seconds worth of conversation and talking points. And then after that, all bets are off because their substance is non-existent after that. And that was a shame that 60-year-old woman would say that to that 20-something-year-old pro-lifer that's there. And then did you see the young liberal in training, the liberal in training, LIT? Well, yeah, she's a little lit. But did you see her, the derangement, the anger, the profanity, right? Why? Because they cannot articulate their thoughts. Okay? They can't articulate. They're mad that another woman has a completely different view of them and a view than they do, and they don't know how to deal with it. Because I guarantee for the longest time, they were encircled with their own and they were in a little echo chamber and they never learned how to deal with someone that had different opinions of them. Communists. We all have to think a certain way. If we all don't think a certain way, I have to kill you. Communists. Look them up. They do it. Okay, that's how they act. They're irrational, crazy, use violence, and all that. With all that, they spin it onto us as we're the violent group here in America because we just want our nation to be normal again. Right? So like their language, their behavior, it's just something we constantly have to get used to dealing with and calling it out and fighting back and pushing back on it. That lady did a great job standing her ground, not being intimidated by them, because that's what they try to do. They try to intimidate you, right? They get loud. They encroach on your space, right? They know what they're doing because they're looking for you to kowtow. They're looking for you to give up that inch because that's what they want. And you see what happens when she didn't give that inch? What happened? They left. So that young lady did a hell of a job there, standing her ground, not giving up to them, standing on principle. And you see what happens when you stand on principle with these people. They have to bow down because they know their arguments make zero sense. And you're telling me that older 60-year-old woman is just fighting for abortion in case a woman gets raped, she has the ability to have an abortion? I'm sure that's the reason why. Let's be honest here, right? She wants women to have the ability to kill a baby whenever they want because it exercises power for them. And allows them to erase a mistake of a night that they made. That's what it does. It takes away accountability. That's what it does. So yeah, good for her standing her ground. And look, they had to walk away. The younger one had to get wrapped up in the older one's arms, crying, walking away because she lost. Because she had no rational thought, no critical thinking skills, no ability to actually articulate why she supports abortion, right? Because honestly, if she said it on camera, probably the only thing she would say is, I want to be able to kill a baby if I'm pregnant. That's probably the reason why. I want to have that power to make that decision. That's probably what it was. So yeah, that was a powerful video in my opinion. Very powerful. And then you have the commies running New York City, right? You got Comrade Mamdani. And he's got a new member, he's got a new kind of department. He's starting off, it's called the Office of Mass Engagement. The Office of Mass Engagement. You know what that sounds like? Organized shock troops. I need someone that will be up here in my office that will dictate to my minions down here. And when I need them to hit the streets or I need them to show up somewhere, my director of mass engagement will talk to my cronies down here and put out the codes in the Signal chats and on X to get them to organize, to get them to speak, to get them to show up. And by the way, the gentleman as being appointed to this position, his name is Japreet Singh. And check out his video.
I am a member of DSA. I've been a member of DSA since 2020 for a while, especially within the Queens work that we do here. But Zoran had approached Drum Beats back in, I believe, August of last year. We went to the community leaders and said, hey, your congregation is already supporting Zoran. Your members are already supporting Zoran. Your children are already supporting Zoran. You have to be on board now. You have no other choice. Even though you might be close to Cuomo or Adams or somebody else, our community is bought in. And if you're not bought in right now, that's going to end up being a problem, which worked out well because by the time Cuomo launched his campaign, it was March, the community leaders were already on board to Zoran's side. We had already done the work to bring them on. So it's difficult for more of the establishment candidates to start picking off the leaders like they had done in the past.
You guys catch that, Mr. Singh, up on that piece? You said I worked for DSA, Democratic Socialists of America. That's what DSA is. Okay? DSA has explicit ties to Antifa, Alicia T. Singham, Linda Sassour, Zoran Mamdani. Right? And then you could track DSA through Antifa, and then they partner with the Party for Socialism and Liberation, PSL. So DSA and PSL have a linchpin of Antifa, shock troops, and they branch out. This dude, Japreet Singh, is part of the DSA. Openly talking about, and then do you listen to it, right? The way they exert pressure sounds like the mafia taking over a street corner. If you don't support us, there's going to be problems. Did you notice on that whole call, did he even articulate to anybody why people are backing Mamdani? No. Because it's all bullshit. It's all fake. It's all smoke and mirrors. But you got this guy who's a straight up part of the DSA saying, yeah, I'm in charge of the Office of Mass Engagement, and this is how we're going to do it. That's the mouth part. That's the mouthpiece for the shock troops in New York City. Pay attention over what happens over the next 4 years. It's going to be fun to watch. Sucks for the people that live there. I have friends that work there, that live in the city, right? Sorry guys, but not going to lie, I'm going to be interested to watch. But I think you guys will be okay. My boys should be okay in New York. And then you got the Supreme Commander of New York, Supreme Commander Mamdani, talking to the press yesterday. He basically said, we broke. Listen up.
New York City is facing a serious fiscal crisis. There is a massive fiscal deficit in our city's budget to the tune of at least $12 billion. We did not arrive at this place by accident. This crisis has a name and a chief architect. In the words of the Jackson 5, it's as easy as ABC. This is the Adams budget crisis. In 2025,
that dude, watch him. He's dangerous. He's a snake salesman. He's a snake oil salesman. He's Obama, all wrapped into one. Watch him. Okay? Because he's laying the budget deficit on Adams, who's the previous mayor of New York City, which I completely understand. But Adams was just following the policies that Mamdani was going to follow. So if Mamdani was mayor during Adams' last term, do you think Mamdani would allow open borders into New York City? Do you think he would support illegal immigrants with everything that Adams did? Of course he would. He'd probably give them more. So maybe he's seeing behind, that's expensive. Shit, that's a lot of money. Man, that's a lot of money. All right, but what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tax the wealthy in New York City because that's his only answer, right? So he's going to run this city into the freaking ground. He is going to bankrupt New York City. I never thought I would say this, but he might be the first person to bankrupt New York City with his social programs. And now he's offering this new auditing system. He's not going to use Doge. He's not using Doge because, but we're going to see which offices get the best bang for their buck, and that's how we're going to determine what we're going to cut. All right, buddy, good luck. Good luck, Comrade Mandani in NYC. Accountability is a bitch. People hate it. I love it. I love it when it's happening, right? The other ones, the ones that are actually being held accountable for the crimes that they did, for the treatment of the American people, they're squirming all over the place. And also, I don't want us to forget. We need Dr. Fauci in cuffs. We need Alejandro Mayorkas in cuffs. We need Obama in cuffs. We need Joey B in some cuffs, a little Kamala Harris, a little Roy Singham. Neville Roy Singham, a little George Soros, a little Alex Soros, a little Nancy Pelosi. Right, we need to get all these guys cuffed up because that will actually beat back the counter-revolution, right? We strangle off their monetary source. We get a couple of their big ones cuffed up. We'll see how everyone else folds into place. And that's where we're going. At least that's where I believe we're going. And if we don't go that way, Lord help us, because they will come and get us after the midterms and the presidential, right? So step by step, day by day, it's building. The question is, who's going to be the first one? Who's really going to be the first one that Trump hits? That everyone's going to be like, oh shit, this is real. Who's it going to be? I don't know. I'm looking forward to it, though. I am telling you that. I am completely looking forward to it. So yeah, that's my take on it. Once again, that's one man's opinion. Take it for what it's worth. I appreciate you all hanging out with me and being supportive in the comments. I've seen I got some good comments today. I appreciate that. I am getting a little more comfortable doing this. Yes, I am. My beads, my boy made them for me. He makes sure I take them with me to work every day. So I make sure I take them to work with me every day. I wear them every day. And I make sure he gets to see the podcast. He gets to see some of it with Mom. Mom plays it for him on Rumble, so he gets super excited when he sees Dad on the screen with the beads on. He loves it. So yeah, I'm going to keep doing it till my boy says no more. Self-accountability is the largest casualty of American freedom and free agency. Everyone has it, and I see it so far from what it's supposed to be daily. Absolutely. No one wants accountability when it's for them, right? Everyone wants to see accountability elsewhere. But when the accountability hits you in the face, it's like, ooh. And we've lost our way as Americans because we started to make excuses for everything. We start to rationalize everything. And we let things go. Right? And anyone that has kids, you know this, the more you let them get away with certain things, the bigger it's going to become. The worse it's going to become until you shut it down as the adult in the room. Trump is trying to be the adult in the room. He needs to be the adult in the room. And he needs to shut this down. Yeah, I'm down with that, Susan. Clinton's in cuff. Yeah, you better believe. That'd be great to see. What'd they just do? They defied Congress too, didn't they? Didn't they blow off a subpoena to testify before Congress a couple of weeks ago? So yeah, what's going on with that? Rules for thee, not for me. Maybe not yet. Maybe someday. But we will see. Beads look like Native American powwow beads. Got a Tupperware full of beads that my wife gave my boy. My boy put them on this. This is what we got. So yeah, New Yorkers haven't woken up yet. It's tough. It's really tough to explain New York because you got so many different areas. Quick breakdown from Queens east, which is Long Island. You get Nassau and Suffolk County. That is probably, I say, 70-80% red. Then you have Queens, Brooklyn, Bronx, Staten Island, Manhattan. That's the 5 boroughs. I would say that's about 80% blue. And now within that is the populace of New York State. That's where the majority of the New York State live, is within those 5 boroughs. And then you go up a little bit into Yonkers and New Rochelle. That's more of an extension of the blue. And then you go upstate to Albany, that's another blue hub, and then the majority of the state is red. So on the outskirts basically have woken up. Long Island, upstate have woken up. It's the city that has not. The city has not. And the city is turning over demographically. More whites are moving out. More multiculturalism is moving in. Those demographics are shifting in New York City big time. That's the truth of it. That's what's happening. Okay? So maybe they'll wake up one day, maybe they won't. But I know my people on the ground in New York, pretty much all of them are awake. But until the election system gets overturned, until the election system gets rooted out and corrected, we're going to be seeing the same stuff over and over and over and over again. So maybe this is it. Maybe it is coming. It'll be great to watch. It'll be beautiful. It'll be ugly and beautiful all in the same breath. Right? It'll be such magnificent chaos, you wouldn't be able to look away. But it would be the rebirth of our nation. And it's something that needs to be done if we were to stand a chance. If our way of life is to succeed for our next generation, this is our chance. This will be our only chance. Because once they come back, it is full force by them. They will play to win. They will play to destroy. And I don't want my boy growing up in a world like that. It is up to my generation now. And when I say my generation, I don't mean the 40-year-olds. I refuse to call myself a millennial. Okay? My generation is anybody that has a child under 10. You could be 30, you could be 20, you could be in your 40s, you could be in your 50s. That's the generation that's going to save it. Anyone that has a child under the age of 10 or 15, like, you're the generation. You are the generation. We are the ones that need to save this. Okay, the older ones, the grandparents, let's be honest, the grandparents aren't happy with what they're seeing, but they are leaving. And they know that. They're not going to fight. They'll support. And they don't have to fight, right? They shouldn't have to fight. But I'm just giving you the breakdown. The grandparents support. The grandparents don't want their grandkids growing up in this world, but they're not going to do the fighting. So we have to fight for our kids. So if you got a kid, and if you believe in the principles that America is great, you need to get on the front lines. And I don't mean go to the streets. I don't mean go and bang heads with these nut jobs in the streets. That's the last place you need to be. You need to be educating your friends. You need to be active online. You need to be spreading the message. You need to be educating your child. You need to be providing your child the armor in here that they need to be ready with when they enter the world out there. That's what our generation needs to do. That's how we take this back. That's how we fight. I don't want you going to the streets. I don't want you banging on doors, and no, because they will throw us in jail and take us and rip us from our kids and family. And what good are we then when we are ripped from our families? Why do you think they threw so many J6ers into the jails that way? Yeah, it was to send the message, but it was also to ruin and hurt those families as well, because they are conservative leaning. So that family needs to get stomped out and rooted out as well. That is the mindset. And it's up to us to make sure that doesn't happen to our family. We need to do this. I'm doing it every day. My boy is not going to grow up in a world where he is a victim because he is a white male. Not going to happen. I worked too hard and suffered too much in my life for him to be viewed like that way. Absolutely not. That is not America. We need to return to the normalcy of America. And I believe that's what Trump is doing for us. All right, let me pray us out. And also, let me explain. Look, I saw you guys' comments yesterday. Joe is great with his prayers. Absolutely no doubt. I've never prayed that way. My prayers have always been like me talking to God. And typically talking to my family that has passed, specifically my grandparents, are typically who I talk to through prayer. And my father. So I appreciated that in the comment. I'm just letting you guys know. Like that, Joe and I have two totally different styles, and Joe is great with it. And that's the reality. But I'm going to keep trying to do me. And Joe's going to obviously keep doing him, man. But I just wanted to give some insight into that. So let me pray us out. In the name of the Father, Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Dear Lord, thank you for another tremendous opportunity to sit in this chair and share this message with our Untamed community. Thank you, Lord, for my wife, my child, my family that I love every day. I appreciate it. Dear Lord, just continue to give me the patience and the wisdom to carry on what I need to keep doing in this world, to provide a stable home for my child, to provide money for my family, to provide a protective home for our love. Grandma and Grandpa, I miss you guys. Dad, I miss you like always. Please look over Mom right now. Mom is sick. Hopefully this gets handled today. So please just watch over her as Jesse's dealing with all this. And Lord, just look over Joe and family. He's been through a lot. Give him some little extra attention. And just give our nation some peace, because we need to tone it down for the time, for now at least. Lord, continue to watch over us, continue to protect us, continue to protect my family, continue to protect our lives. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. All right, everyone. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.
Rising from the fight for the forgotten and the free, exposing rigged machines, Coomer's lies, Dominion's deceit, pays a grand each day, shielding truth from corrupt halls, but he won't back down, standing tall through it all. Hart and Tina Peters break the chains that bind her tight, hand count votes and one day bring the fraud to light. No more mailing scams, no machines to steal the night, restore the people's voice, make Colorado right. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true, badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away, shrink the bloated state, let the people have their say. It's our rally call, truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Help the single moms, bring back trade school strong, opportunity for youth, where the brave belong. Audit every NGO, ban the wolves that roam, reclaim our stolen land, bring the power home. Eric Coomer's fraud, Dominion's rigged design, expose the stolen votes, cross the dangerous line. No more victimhood, no chains on you and me. He's running for governor for real liberty. Smash the fraud machine, pardon heroes jailed, for the have-nots rising, truth will never fail. One warrior defies the corrupt elite, Colorado reborn, strong on our feet. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true, badass for the have-nots, fighting through and through. Abolish property tax, cut the tolls away, shrink the bloated state, let the people have the say. Governor Oltmann, it's our rally call, truth and freedom rise and watch the tyrants fall. Untamed Colorado, strong and proud, we'll be one man for the people, set our great state free. Governor Oltmann, lead us bold and true. Governor Oltmann, freedom forever, Colorado rise. In the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam, Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through.